I'm sitting today with Hamid Montakab, founder of Gway. He is in Portugal at the moment, and we will talk about that a bit later. But Hamid, thank you for joining me. And I would like to ask you a few questions for our 40-year anniversary.
Thank you, Simon.
The first question is, how did you get into Chinese medicine? Many, many years ago, and when was that?
I was in the fifth year of my medical studies, and it wasn't that I got into Chinese medicine, it was that I was very dissatisfied from the medicine that we were practicing. I found allopathic medicine was inhuman. We were not treating people, we were treating cases and diseases. And I didn't have any way out. And that's when a door opened, Chinese medicine, and I got in and I never got out.
And when and where was that?
This was in Paris.
Which year about?
In 73, 1973.
73. My God. And then 40 years ago, in 1986, you founded Jiwei Academy. Then it was known as the Academy of Chinese Healing Arts. Um, can you tell us a little bit what was your motivation to start the school?
I think the basic motivation was that the teaching levels were very low, and I was finding a pity that Chinese medicine was not more developed, and we were not opening more aspects of the Chinese medicine. So I thought by creating a school, and also at that time we started inviting sort of quite celebrities. I had Machota coming, I had Julian Scott, Jeremy Ross, etc., Michael McIntyre, all these sort of important teachers that we could invite at that time.
So, how was Chinese medicine at that time? You said that the level was low. Um, how was it practiced? Was it legal, and were there a lot of practitioners? Where did they have their education from?
Well, I can tell you about Switzerland because that's we got settled in Switzerland since 1980. No, a bit later actually, beginning 80, but then 85. It was mostly practiced by medical doctors in Switzerland, and some states, some canton were authorized, not really authorizing, but they were not forbidding the practice of acupuncture. But the level was very low. I found that the doctors were doing 120 hours. And I found, you don't learn Chinese medicine 120 hours.
And then you increased. How was the first program at Chile? Like how many hours about? And
We started with it was 2 months, so you can figure out about 500 hours. Then we increased it. And we added then also, this was just acupuncture, but then we added West Med. It was important to satisfy the demands. And also we added herbal medicine and Trina, and it sort of slowly grew since then.
and I know from what you've told me, like some of the first courses, they were in different parts, like in France and in I think in Greece also. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, my idea was that teaching and learning should be fun. So rather than have a frontal teaching in a classroom, we decided to take the students to nice places. Islands, we did in Corfu, we did in Crete, we did in Mallorca. We chose nice places. So we were teaching, and they had a few hours in the afternoons to go into to the sea. And then later we did in Switzerland, the mountains, so they could go skiing. So I blended it with fun things to do. So it was more also a vacation at the same time.
Nice. We still try to make it fun, but it's more classroom teaching. Where did you actually come to winter tour then?
Actually, we were teaching in Zurich, and then one of our students had a place in Winterthur, and he had a physio center with a big classroom, and he said this is a nice place to go. And we started using, and finally Winterthur opened arms to us, and now more and more nicer places offered. And finally, we even took a flat in Winterthur, and we were teaching. And now the Chiwei has been there for quite a number of years.
Yeah, a good 20 years, I think, in the location
Yeah,
that we are.
yeah.
Um, you stopped running Chiwei, like we took over about 13 years ago. Um, what have you been doing since? Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Well, first of all, I've continued teaching. I've been involved in Chile, of course. It's my sort of heart school. And then doors have been opening. I'm teaching a lot in Poland. Three of my books are translated there, so I'm having classes in Poland. And also, since COVID, of course, we have gone online and teaching in the four corners of the world, teach in America, in Canada, in Australia, again in Poland, and so on. Of course, Switzerland and so on.
So you're still very active. I think it's also interesting you wrote like two or three books since then, so you're super active in keep promoting and teaching Chinese medicine.
Yeah, because I'm living it. Chinese medicine, for me, has become a way of life. And so I discover more and more aspects of Chinese medicine through life experiences, life challenges, also through diseases, which are challenges. And for me, this is the most sort of precious aspect of Chinese medicine, is the philosophy which is behind it.
I said at the beginning, you're in Portugal now. What are you doing in Portugal?
We have a place here, so I'm sort of spending part-time Portugal and Switzerland, between Portugal and Switzerland,
Okay,
and maybe in the future Crete also. There's a project to move to Crete.
okay, that's where you taught acupuncture
We started in
40
Crete.
years ago, and now you're moving back there.
Yeah, the first course was in Crete.
If you have to a new student that's coming to Chile or that's thinking about Chinese medicine, what would be one of your advice to such a student or to our students now?
The medicine that you're practicing is reflecting your belief systems and the way you see life in general. And Chinese medicine, don't take it as a technique. Try to embody the philosophy. This is what I have discovered over the years, that this ancient medicine is not ancient at all. It's more modern than modern medicine. Everyday statements and concepts of Chinese medicine are being demonstrated and proven by modern science and quantum physics. So get into the deep philosophy, into the foundations, and then you will be practicing a proper, I would say, Chinese medicine.
But from my experience, getting into the deep philosophy for a beginner student, sometimes it's difficult. Like, how do you mean that? At the beginning, you can start reading the I Ching the first week of school.
No, no, you don't. That's also, even today, after many years, it's difficult to understand. This was written in an ancient language with different visions, but there are enough people and books which are explaining that. And the fundamentals of Chinese medicine are actually not so complicated. The worldview, if you look at the basic principles of, if you look at what quantum physics describes creation and life today, is totally what the Chinese medicine described in a different language, but it's the same thing. The concept of yin and yang and creation and the uh, the before the sort of before creation, what happened at creation, this duality that appears, etc., is exactly how they describe the creation of the world, seen by in quantum physics.
If you think back to 40 years of Chile, what would you say is one of your most memorable moments?
Oh, there are many. And as I said, we spend when you live and share time with 1, 2 weeks, or 1 month with students, there are many uh, lovely memories that come up. We had great parties. We had them actually. We had the students enact different aspects like the five elements and the six temperaments. They would play. We would have theaters, and it would bring out a lot of creativity. And we saw that the learning was much easier also. But I would say concerning our profession, probably the most memorable time was a meeting, a roundtable we had in Zurich with medical doctors. And one of the points that I was bringing out was that their education of 120 hours was not enough. And the arguments they were bringing is that we don't need more, we are doctors, we know how to diagnose, etc. And in this meeting, we managed to demonstrate to them in practice that they needed to also learn more about Chinese medicine. And I was very happy to see that after this meeting, they elevated the level for medical doctors. And also, this was the opening for, at the time we had created the SBOTCM, and this was the opening. It took a few more years, of course. It wasn't that easy for the recognition of the profession in Switzerland. And I'm really proud to say, and I say it everywhere I go in Europe, is that Switzerland is the only country that has a proper recognition of this profession. And it's not like in Germany under Heilpraktiker or England, it's a school thing. In Switzerland, we have a profession which is recognized.
And which started then with the professional organization SBOTCM, which is now called the Fachverband Schweiz for Chinese Medicine.
Okay. And of course, you had also a great role to play because it was during your time that you finalized it. It took it took almost what 15, 16 years to get it done.
And you were the first president of the SBOTCM, if I remember correctly. Yes. Nice. Hamid, thank you very much for this short talk. And thank you also for being still so active in this profession, still teaching our students. I know our students really appreciate your knowledge and your sharing. It just yesterday you taught one of our class that finished, and they told me afterwards, it's so nice that you still share all your knowledge with so much enthusiasm. So thank you for that, and thank you for this talk.
And thank you, Simon, for continuing the good work.
Thank you.